25% chance of success is what Pat Niven has given the mighty Glasgow Rangers under Russell Martin. Welcome back to Fog Football. Some late, out of date garbage here. I mean, how do you even pluck a number like this? Big Pat is claiming that he has been told the Rangers transfer kitty. This isn't. What is even going on here? We're going to dive into the quotes because I think it's ridiculous. I mean, 25% chance of success. How does it work? So Russell Martin has got a 75% chance of failure, but he's got a 25% chance of success. Where has he plucked it? Where has he plucked those numbers from? You know, to me it doesn't make any sense. That, but anyway, this is what Pat Niven had to say regarding the Light Blues. This was over on the Daily Record because apparently he's heard about how much will be splashed in Govan. So that's what he said, and I quote: "I don't actually take that much from what happened with Russell Martin in Southampton in the Premier League. Any manager would have struggled with the team he had. I suppose he had a problem with sticking by certain things that weren't working, almost in an Ange Postecoglou-like way. If you're trying to play Russell Martin's style of football in the Premier League, where near every single team has better players, then you're going to struggle. Rangers will be fine in terms of having better players than 10 out of the 11 opponents they face in the Scottish Premiership next season, but maybe not when it comes to Celtic, and that's what matters. He's up against a good manager in Brendan Rodgers, and he has to bring in a lot of new players at Rangers this summer." End of quote. Right, there is a bit more, but we'll get into it. See, but I think the last two seasons, right, in Scottish football have proved that there are two different ends of the spectrum. The season when Beale got sacked and Clont came in, 23-24, Rangers couldn't buy a result against Celtic, but did pretty good against the rest of the other teams until, obviously, collapsing at the end. Then, in the 24-25 campaign, we did pretty good against Celtic in the league. 2 wins, a draw and a defeat. And normally, back in the day, the good old days, that probably would have seen Rangers lift the league title. So you're seeing both ends of the spectrum there. The reality is, Big Pat can turn around and say that, he's going to have a better team 10 out of 11 times. But that doesn't automatically mean that Rangers are going to pick up every single point against the other teams. It just doesn't work like that. Obstacles are going to get put in our way. Now, if it's just a simple, put it this way, if it's that easy, Rangers are going to lose to Celtic 4 times, but they're going to beat every other team in the league. That would probably still put us at the top of the league table, but it's not that easy, man. And Russell Martin, yeah, people can be like, oh, well, I'm not going to say too much about his Southampton spell. Is that the sad state that English football's in, where it's like you get promoted from the Championship into the Premier League, and it's just a write-off. You can't do anything. And I think there's actually a bit of proof to that, because Vincent Kompany got promoted with Burnley, got relegated, and got the Bayern Munich job. Now, again, I'm not saying that Russell Martin's as good as Vincent Kompany or whatever, but why did Vincent Kompany get the Bayern Munich job? Yeah, he won the league this year. Didn't really do well in the Champions League, though. But, I mean, winning the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich is a bit like winning the Scottish Premiership with Celtic. That's just a fact. That you would expect them to do it. Now, as for Russell Martin, he's been given the keys to the team that is by far second best. And what we've got to do here, and what he's got to do, is turn us into first. Got to make us the best. Can he do it? Well, Pat Niven's given him a 25% chance. But if it's just as simple as beating every other team, then last season we proved that we can beat Celtic. And the problem is consistency against the other teams. But then the season before was that we couldn't beat Celtic. So the reality is there's a whole lot of different reasons about why Rangers haven't been able to win a league title in the last couple of years after winning one, right? But what it is, it's consistency. The lack of being able to go on a run. I look at the Rangers team. I mean, it feels like deja vu. that around that after the first Old Firm every season, folks, we are always sitting here talking about the fact that Rangers are 5 points behind, always drop points in the first game of the season, and then going into the first Old Firm, we lose it and go for like 5, 6 points behind. It always seems to fucking happen, and it's a trend that needs to be dropped. It really does need to be dropped. Now, he went on to speak about Davy Moyes. He said, and I quote, "It's a bit like Davy Moyes at Everton. There are a lot of changes that need to be made with players already leaving. It's almost a fresh start for Rangers, but catching up with Celtic, who are currently ahead when it comes to finances, performances in Europe, and how long things have been in place, will take a while. For Russell Martin to win the Premiership in his first season would be staggering. I think Rangers fans might have to be a little bit patient. I'd give Rangers a 25% chance of winning the league next season in a two-horse race. That's how far Celtic are ahead." End of quote. A few things. He says Celtic's performances in Europe are better. Are Celtic's performances in Europe better than Rangers? No. Here, can't dispute it. Celtic had a pretty good Champions League campaign last year. But if Rangers are worse than Celtic in Europe, then I'd like to know what fucking Pat Niven's smoking. And Celtic fans even admit that on this channel. They can't buy a knockout win in Europe. Now, yeah, last couple of years they've had it. They've had the Champions League, which is obviously tougher. Can't sit here and deny that. But what about the years before that? In Europe, even in the Europa League, even in the Conference League, Celtic get battered in the knockout stages. They always go out. That's a fact. I think to turn around and say that Celtic are better than Rangers in Europe is ridiculous. It is. It is ridiculous. And I think a lot of Celtic fans, reality is going to hit them when it comes to this playoff round in the Champions League. Some people think it's a given. I don't think they'll go through. I think Celtic will be playing Europa League. So I don't understand that for Pat. Now, he did go on to say that perhaps we should wait and see who Celtic bring in, who Rangers bring in this summer. But from what I'm told about Russell Martin will be allowed to spend this summer, he'll do really well to catch them. End of quote. So obviously he knows about the amount of money that Rangers are going to get. 25% chance of success. 25% chance of winning the league. That's probably higher than most people would put Rangers. I mean, they've got to win the league, right? But the reality is, got to win the league and will you win the league is two different things. Would I put it at 25% chance? I think it's impossible to put a fucking number on it, especially at this stage. Maybe if it's like after the window's shut and a few games have been played and we can see what both teams look like, because yeah, it's difficult to tell. It's like Ange's first year, right? Going into that season, no one gave Ange a chance. The percentage would probably be about like fucking 0, 1, 2, 3 and that. But then, you began to see Ange building something. Gerrard left and that closed it. And then by the time you got into like 2022, Celtic looked better than Rangers. So here, I'm not saying that can happen, but it's happened before. Can Rangers overtake Celtic this season and win the league? Of course they can. Nothing's impossible. But old habits die hard, and Rangers need to sort it out. Will they be able to? Who knows? Will Russell Martin be the guy to do that? We'll find out at the end of the season. But I think putting a 25% chance on it is, I don't know. Honestly, it's like looking at Celtic's domination and how far the gap is that everyone bangs on about and shit like that. It seems like Pat Niven is contradicting himself and that he's almost overrated Rangers' chances of winning the league. Because when you go through the article, it doesn't sound like Rangers have a 1 in 4 chance of winning the league. 1 in 4 is a pretty decent chance. I mean, it's not quite 50-50. It's nowhere near 50-50. It's like 50. It's like 50-50 and a 50-50. But anyway, I'm kind of just ranting on at this point. We'll see what this season holds. But 25% chance. We'll see. 100% chance of fucking action though. Can't wait for the season to begin. Buzzing.